When I was 18 years old, I really felt that God was drawing me to a relationship with him. So much so that we were having a special Sunday morning service at our church, and I knew the presence of God was going to be there. Now, I served as an armor bearer, so I was required to sit in the front row. But that day, I deliberately sat a few rows back because in my mind, I was afraid that I was going to get caught up in the crossfire of God's Spirit. So I sat a few rows back. Now the guest preacher eventually goes up to preach, and she is preaching a phenomenal message. I mean, the Spirit of God was all in the place, and she calls for anyone who does not know the Lord to come down to the altar. Me being afraid of what people thought, I decided to sit back. Then as people are making their way down to the altar, I hear this loud voice, "Dane!" And immediately I looked back and I was looking everywhere like, who in the world would call my name during altar call? Like, that is rude. But as I kept looking back, I began to discover that no one called my name and that it was actually the audible voice of God. And I went down to the altar, back to the prayer room to receive the baptism of the Holy Ghost. And as soon as the lady walked back into our prayer room, she looked at me and said, "Professor, God is ready for you." Now, you may not believe in the supernatural or that God speaks audibly, but I want to tell you that God does. And that was the first time I ever heard the voice of God. Now, I've also seen Jesus 3 times, but I'll talk about those in later videos. So in conclusion, God is still speaking.